Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video with the impending announcement of the new NVIDIA RTX series of video cards. I know a lot of you guys are getting in the mood of buying a new GPU, and in this video, I want to go over 5 big tips to buy a new GPU after the RTX series is released and heading up to that release. I've been around the PC hardware scene for quite a while. I've seen a lot of GPUs be released. I've gone through a lot of launch periods, so I'm pretty familiar with how this works, and I want to put my own speculation because this is a pretty unique situation. I've been talking about it in previous videos, but because of the fact that GPU prices have been so high, because we haven't seen any new GPUs in 2 years, I suspect that the hype for the RTX series is going to be higher than ever. So coupled with my past knowledge of previous launches, and coupled with my speculation that this is going to be one of the most anticipated GPU launch lineups in history, there is a lot you need to know going into the release of the RTX series. So as I said, in this video, I want to give you 5 big tips to make sure you guys make the best decision possible for your wallet, for your gaming PC, and everything in between. So let's get right into it. Now, my first tip, if you are dead set on buying one of these new GPUs that will be released, get this through your head that after these GPUs are released, if you want an RTX series GPU, in a timely fashion after release, that means not waiting a couple of months, you will have to be an absolute hawk about this. What do I mean? Well, these GPUs are going to be listed, let's say August 30th is when the 2080 is going to be released. That's the rumor right now. I highly doubt that these GPUs are going to be available on August 31st. So if you want an RTX 2080, very small window to actually buy one. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait until a bunch of the other guys bring out their 2080s, or you're just going to have to wait for the market to cool down entirely. Because as I said, the hype behind these GPUs are going to be so crazy. Just going back to the 1070 release, the hype for the 1070 was enormous and it was hard to get a 1070 for quite a while. Think about that, and then couple the fact that it's been 2 years since GPUs were released, couple the fact that GPU prices are crazy and people are salivating for new GPUs, the hype is going to be absolutely enormous. Maybe you can't sense it right now, but I foresee that after Gamescom Cologne, Germany, August 20th, that the hype is going to be through the roof and these GPUs are going to sell out in a matter of minutes. Maybe I'm hyping it up too much, but it's always best to be prepared for worst case scenario, especially again if you're dead set on getting one of these new GPUs. You're gonna have to be a hawk about it, and you're gonna have to stalk these various websites or go to your local micro center, figure out how they're gonna be selling them, what's the stock gonna be like, because that window is gonna be so small. And as I mentioned, the 1070 was just released 2 years ago, and I remember how hard it was for a little bit to get that GPU, that it's making me a little scared at how big the anticipation for these GPUs are gonna be, and I imagine that there are gonna be a lot of people that buy these GPUs because they are a hawk about it, and then they're gonna relist it right away on eBay. They're gonna be marked up like crazy, and you're gonna have to deal with that for a little bit. Hell, if you want to buy a GPU and you want to resell it on eBay, more power to you. But I just want you guys to know that fact heading into this launch. Okay, tip number 2 is the rumor is that the 2080 will be released on August 30th. NVIDIA is so smart about it because usually with every generation, the 80 series card is usually not the most popular. So what do? You release this high-end 2080 model first, you get everyone to buy it based off hype, and then you release the 2070, which is actually the GPU the majority of people wanted, but some people already invested so much more money than they needed to for the 2080 that now the 2070 is out, that you look at the 2070 and you're like, man, why didn't I just wait for the 2070? Rumor is the 2070 will be releasing this year on September 27th, so that's not even a long wait after the 2080. Do not make a gigantic investment on a GPU like a 2080 just based on hype. Think this through cautiously. Bear in mind that a 2070 is on the way. The 2060 is rumored to be out on October 25th. As I mentioned, NVIDIA is smart with how they launch these GPUs. They get people to buy the 2080, and then the 2070 comes out, and they're like, all right, there's this other really great option, and for those of you that couldn't afford the 2080, hey, you can get the 2070, but some people are gonna be like, man, I need the 2080, the 2070 isn't out yet, let me just get the 2080, and they're going to break. Do not do that. I remember when the GTX 980 came out, so many people bought it, and then the GTX 970 came out, and then the 970 was an incredible value outside of the 3.5 gigabyte VRAM thing, that some people were a little upset that they bought a 980. Again, just assess what kind of GPU you want. Do not buy a singular GPU just based off on hype, and understand that we do probably have multiple GPUs on the way. Again, I mentioned 2070 on September 27th, 2060 on October 25th. Take that as rumor for now, but do you really think NVIDIA is just gonna release a 2080 and not make a 2070 and a 2060? Probably not. Alright, my next tip is I know a lot of you guys already have a 1080 and a 1070, and even though that's a pretty current GPU, some of you guys do want to get rid of that and get an RTX series GPU, and if you want to do that, more power to you, but you probably also want to sell your GTX 1080 or 1070, and if you want to find the perfect window to sell your current GPU, well, it is as soon as possible. I was browsing eBay just a second ago, and you can see 1080s being listed, and they're still going for around $300 to $400, so if you want the maximum return on your 1080, I would recommend to get rid of it ASAP. Now, that does mean you would be without a GPU for a little bit, and imagine you sell your 1080, the 2080 comes out, and you miss that window to pick it up, well, then you would feel kind of crappy, but if you have like a really old GPU to get you by for now, if it's decent enough, by all means, use that and get rid of your 1080 or 1070 because you can still get max value right now. I imagine that when the 2080 is officially announced, when we get that release date, that's when you're going to see eBay absolutely flooded with 1080s and 1070s, and the values of these GPUs are going to drop so much. Now, that brings me to tip number 4. Well, what does it mean if the 1080, 1070 values drop? That means used GPUs are going to be an insane value. This always happens when there's a new generation of GPUs that come out. People are unloading their existing GPU. You're not just going to upgrade to a RTX 2080 and keep your 1080 in the closet. No, you want some return out of your 1080. So you go over to eBay and you go ahead and sell it. Well, you realize that everybody's trying that, and it just drives the overall value of the 1080 down. And I could very well see that we see 1080s for sub $300. I don't think that's crazy, considering we have seen, like, after an eBay promo code, you can get a 1080 for like $350. So after the release of the 2080, or leading up to the release of the 2080, maybe from that August 20th to August 30th period after the official announcement in Cologne, and then the official release on August 30th, I think that's going to be your ultimate window to pick up a 1080, because I just imagine eBay is going to be absolutely flooded with them. That's speculation on my part, but logistically speaking, you would think that would be the window where the majority of people are listing their existing GPUs. So maybe if you can keep a level head, if you're not going to buy into the hype of the RTX 2080, 2070, or 2060, you just want a very value-oriented GPU, well, the 1080 might be that, and because the value of the 1080 goes down, it's just going to trickle down. People are going to list their 1070s at a cheaper price, even 1060s might be at a cheaper price, but I imagine leading up to the 2070s release, you'll see the 1070 price drop even further, and then for the 2060, the 1060 price will drop even further, and the 1060, 1070, and 1080, if you're playing at 1080p, those are still incredible GPUs. It's just that if you're playing at 1440p or 4K, personally speaking, I have a 1080 and I do like to game at 4K, and Monster Hunter World is a very hard game to run at 4K. That game isn't the best PC port either, so maybe that's not the best example, but you get the idea. The 1080 and 1070 do have their limitations at higher resolutions, but if you are gaming at 1440p, a 1080 will be very, very capable. I might be selling it a little bit short. And for those of you guys that just want a very good GPU and get the best value for your money, getting a used 1080 or a used 1070 might be the way to go. And my last tip for you guys, and this goes back to tip number 2, please do not impulse buy. I know the hype is gonna be enormous, but don't get caught up in the hype. This is such a huge investment. It's not like dropping $60 on a game. You are dropping hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for a graphics card, and if you have a capable GPU, if you're the kind of guy that is playing World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth, and your 1070 is doing just fine, and you're gonna be playing that game for the rest of the year, why do you want an RTX 2080 so bad? I know it's a new shiny piece of tech, but just think about this logically. Chances are the 2080 is going to be north of $500. That is a lot of money. And if your current 1070 or 1080 is doing the trick, if it plays all the games you want, if you're playing at 1080p, God forbid, don't even look at the 2080. Just stick with the 1080. You're gonna get incredible performance. You're still gonna be able to run every game. It just seems like some people get caught up in a lot of the hype, and I know it's been 2 years, but gaming is at a point where a 1080 is still perfectly serviceable. So if you can close your eyes and pretend that the 2080, 2070, and 2060 aren't even coming out. I know how it sometimes feels if you're not on the most current set of GPUs. Some people really care about that. I don't really get why. At the end of the day, your graphics card is created to play games, and if you are playing games the way you want to, that's all that matters. There shouldn't be an ego-stroking contest about who has the best GPU. I mean, if you want to drop money, more power to you, but if you're actually on the fence, I would say stick with your current GPU, wait a little bit, hopefully the stock just keeps on replenishing, hopefully we continue to get more GPUs, things start to stabilize and the GPU market goes back to where it was, because this isn't going to be the last set of GPUs ever. Nvidia will eventually release more GPUs, hopefully AMD releases more GPUs, and if you can stick with your 1080 or 1070, that is going to just pay dividends at the end when you actually need to upgrade, and it's just not an ego-stroking thing. So that's going to conclude this video, guys. I thought I was able to give some good insight. I've been around a lot of GPU launches. I personally might stick with my 1080 1080, but as I am gaming more in 4K, the RTX 2080 is looking very, very attractive. We'll see. Honestly, at this point, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, I spent a lot of time playing games like Dead Cells and Hearthstone, and while I do play higher end games like Monster Hunter World on PC, I can still run those games if I lower the settings even at 4K. I can get solid frame rates, but I would be lying to you guys if even I'm not a little bit enticed by the possibilities of new GPUs. It's just that I'm gonna try to think this through logistically and be as smart as possible about it, and I hope you guys do the same. And again, with so many of you, I'm sure you're like busy with Battle for Azeroth, and the RTX 2080 is probably not going to help you push BFA any harder. So yeah, at this point I'm rambling. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. If you guys have requests for a future video, you can leave that in the comments as well, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace out.